Friday to you. This is 20 Questions with Pastor Mike, and we're going to talk about the Satanic Temple briefly here as we open up the live chat for questions. You guys are loading in your questions. The first one I have ready to go about the Satanic Temple. The other 19 are all going to come right now from, 19 that we can take from the live chat. We can't take all the questions because there's just too many. But hopefully you will find benefit and blessing as we discuss these things logically, thoughtfully, and biblically. That's going to be our goal. And here's the first question. The Satanic Temple has been gaining popularity online due to their 7 tenets of belief. Many people see these tenets as positive and morally good and are being drawn into their organization as a result. How can we help people see through this dangerous deception? Let's talk about this. So there's variety. Here's what you guys need to know. Like from a bird's eye view, there's a variety of groups called satanic or Satanists. There's a number of different groups, and they don't even necessarily have agreement on all sorts of things. They're kind of all anti-Christian. I mean, there's agreement there, but that's true of a lot of groups. This particular group, the Satanic Temple, here's what you want to know. They want you to freak out. They want you to be like, oh, and spaz out and be worried about them and be irritated and bothered by them. It's like their goal to do this. Let me give you an example of this. This is something they did, and I don't know how many people care about this, but something they did to the Westboro Baptist Church. Now, the Westboro Baptist Church, a lot of us know, they don't really represent Christianity in any way, shape, or form. They're just a hate group. And these are the people who would go and picket funerals, military funerals, with picket signs that say like that the person's in hell and stuff like that. And they basically think that just like 12 people on planet Earth are saved and it's just them or something like that. Really messed up, twisted group. Very hateful, very unbiblical. But the Satanic Temple, that's their leader of the temple. I'm sorry for putting this image on your screen. I want you to understand who this group is. Did a ritual, as you can read the text on your screen there. They did a ritual at the gravesite of like the matriarch of, the Westboro Baptist Church. They're not really Baptist, by the way, right? Like the Baptists have asked them to stop calling themselves Baptist. Anyway, listen to what they say about it. After the Boston Marathon bombings claimed the lives of 3 people, the Westboro Baptists announced their plans to picket the funerals of the victims to draw attention to their loathsome anti-gay agenda. In response, the Satanic Temple went to Meridian, Mississippi, to perform a pink mass. There's a term they just made up, okay? Literally made up for this purpose. A ritual they made up for this purpose. But I'm going to tell you what they did, then I'll explain why they did it, which is the part that you really want to understand. To perform a pink mass at the gravesite of the mother of the Westboro Baptist founder, Fred Phelps. The ritual was conceived to make Fred Phelps believe that the Satanic Temple had turned his mother gay in the afterlife and succeeded in invoking the ire of the Westboro Baptists. So pink mass is a made-up thing, okay? This isn't like a Satanism thing that you can do, okay? They just made this up. They sat there and thought, what would be the most offensive thing we could do to irritate and bother Fred Phelps? This was their plan. This is Satanism, at least the Satanic Temple, in a nutshell. We will make up a religion just to irritate and bother Christians in particular and religious people. That's one major side of the coin. They don't think that this thing works. They don't even believe in any of the rituals that they're doing. They don't think that they're like having an effect in reality except to irritate people and serve as a troll. Modern Satanism, a lot of it, is meant to be a troll on Christianity. There's kind of like another deeper layer we'll get to in a minute I'll talk about. It's just meant to troll people. Oh, I forgot to show you guys, like, we're on number 1. So this is what they're about. They want to try to like think of ways of dismantling or mocking, right? Some of it's just catharsis. Like, I just want to feel good about how I reject Christianity. A lot of these people are going to be atheists in this, not like all atheists are like this, but there's a significant number. The tenets that they spread around shock people because they think the satanic temple, the satanic tenets, they're going to be like these really evil things like killing children or something. But what you have to understand about the Satanist group is they feel totally morally superior to you religious nuts, you superstitious religious weirdos. So here's their tenets. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. Notice that's a moral tenet. It's a should. Okay. Within reason, how they define that ends up being self-refuting in a minute here. They say that the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. Notice the word should. This is a moral thing. These tenets are about moral things. They're not about scientific facts. Not yet. One's body, number 3, one's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. Only you can decide what happens to your body. This isn't too broad of a brush, obviously, but they will absolutely, completely become hypocrites on this in just a minute. You'll wait and see, because what they really care about, one thing they truly advocate for, is abortion. Which I know in the heads of pro-choice people, they think that they're shooting for bodily autonomy, but when they're inserting forceps into a womb to crush the head of a baby, that's a violation of bodily autonomy. We'll come back to that. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. Okay, these are all moral statements, and you could agree with at least significant parts of them. Okay, you should try to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures. Of course, they think that doesn't include God. They think specifically it doesn't include any supernatural beings. And so don't love God, right? Rebel against God. That's where they get their name Satanism. They think Satan doesn't exist, but he sort of represents metaphorically rebellion against religion. That's why they call themselves Satanists, this particular group. Here's the rest of their tenets. Beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. This sounds kind of good to people, but this is really irrational. And here's the reason why. Science doesn't inform us about moral things, right? It might give you a measure of, like, if you eat this kind of food and you exercise these ways, you'll live longer. Like, it can tell you those things, but it can't give you the moral facts that, like, it's morally good to take care of your body, or morally good to be generous to others, or morally good to forgive, or morally good to love, right? This tenet is scientism. I'm going to limit my beliefs, right, to my understanding of science. But science is only able to measure certain things about reality. Like, it can't measure that your mother loves you. Like, there's just isn't science for this, okay? Nor can it measure any of the tenets we've seen so far. Science doesn't tell us to act with compassion and empathy. Okay, so based on their own tenets, we'd have to strike off number 1. Science doesn't tell us that the struggle for justice is necessary or that it should prevail. Science doesn't tell you that. It just tells you, this is how things are in the natural physical world. One's body is inviolable. Where does science tell you that? Right? The freedoms of others should be respected. Where does science tell you this? So the thing is, once you remove God from the picture, once you embrace an atheistic kind of, or scientistic, or materialistic, naturalistic worldview, you lose the foundation for a lot of things that you hold dearly and you think are true, but you don't realize that you can't hardly justify that with just science. Here's another thing about science. Science doesn't give us any reason to think that science is the only way to learn things. Where does science limit your ability to learn things through, say, other forms of philosophy? I've had conversations with skeptics online where I try to encourage them that there's a philosophy behind science and that they might want to look into, like, the philosophy of science. And I remember being mocked in comment sections. You idiot, there's no such thing as a philosophy of science. And I just thought, oh, they don't even know. They don't even know. This isn't good. Like, this is the really small... It's the world of somebody who only criticizes beliefs they don't like and doesn't turn and reflect upon the sand they're building their own beliefs on now. And that's Satanism in a nutshell. They say people are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that may have been caused. Okay, you don't learn that from science. Every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in thought and action. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. Of course, they wrote that, so they're trying to think that the written is really it's sort of a passive-aggressive comment about Christianity or about religious things that they don't like. When it comes down to it, the Satanic Temple, the Satanic Tenets, they're there as propaganda. Okay, the Satanist has two things they do. And one, they put their first foot forward, where they're like, we're Satanists, we're here to freak you out, we're here to ha ha ha. And then they put their next foot forward. Actually, we're just very rational, scientifically minded people. Satan is just a metaphor for rejecting the superstitions of religion. And then you're like, oh, I don't know how I'm supposed to think. But take it all in and realize this. The moral principles that you can agree with, at least partly, are going to be things that you find true in Christianity and substantiated with God. God gives you these morals, right? Like his, not just the knowledge of the morals, but he grounds the fact of moral realities and moral obligations. But you can't ground that in their own worldview. So what they've done is they're rebelling against God, rebelling against the truth. But they want to keep pieces of the truth and claim it as their own, but it's not consistent with their own worldview. That's Satanism. Now, the other angle of it is that it's very much a vehicle for political advocacy. One of the reasons why a Satanist would even want to call himself a Satanist is because then they could try to say that they want their agendas to be recognized as religious rights. So the most recent example of this that we find is their Satanic Reproductive Freedom fundraiser that they're doing right now. Let me show you that. Okay, they're raising money right now because of this major announcement. They're saying, we're going to tell, okay, they've invented a new ritual, and the ritual is abortion. They're calling it a satanic ritual. Do they believe in Satan? No, they don't believe any of that. They don't think anything spiritual is happening at this time. But they're going to call it a ritual so they can go to the government and say, the adherers to our religion of Satanism, they have a ritual called abortion. And so our religious right is to commit abortions. And so we want you to give us protections that we can, as the Satanic Temple, can administer abortifacients to our members. And to become a member, you just sign up, pay a fee, you're good. So you see what they're doing is they don't actually believe in Satan. It's not a religion in any sense that you might recognize. It's meant to be a mockery. It's a giant troll. It's just a troll on religious people and a troll meant to try to like throw a monkey wrench into religious rights. So whenever you see a Christian like say we can have after school clubs, Bible clubs, well, they're going to be like, well, we're going to have like Satan clubs after school, ha ha ha, and we're going to call it religious, and they're really just going to teach against religion in those groups. Now you see that makes it a strong political advocacy thing. It's just a giant troll. There's one more thing to consider with Satanism, though, which is this. And I think a Satanist, if you're listening, you're a Satanist, I want you to consider this possibility. If there really is a God, then you guys are the ones being trolled so massively. Because here you are saying, "Hail Satan," and doing rituals, and you think it's all a joke, and you think it's all just a mockery of beliefs you don't like and you don't approve of. But in reality, at the same time, you're then denying all of the negative implications of what you're doing, thinking it's a holy and wonderful and positive thing, and yet Satan's just laughing at you. There's the troll. You're trolling everybody, but you're really being trolled, and that's Satanism. The thing about the tenets is that you can affirm much of what's said there, but not all of it for sure, because it's self-refuting. But it's not really what Satanism is actually about. Satanism is actually about rebelling against religious beliefs. If they have a tenet, that should be on the list, but it's not there because that's part of the propaganda machine.